Welcome to episode 6 of Chewing the Fat. My name is Wendy Lieber. I am the CEO of Content Bacon, and I am here with Jason Etter, who is our amazing, fabulous VP of Marketing, or as I like to refer to him as VP of Sizzle. Welcome, Jason.
Hey, Wendy.
All right. So I know today you've got a topic in mind. So why don't you frame what we're going to talk about, and let's get into it.
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's chew. Let's chew it.
Do it.
And I think that the topic for today is really on how do you, as a founder, as a brand, as any sort of entity, how do you stand out amongst the noise? Because there's so much noise these days, on all the different social platforms, your inbox, online, etc. And I think it would be great to start with your take as a founder, as someone who runs an organization. How do you, either, I guess the questions to you is, one, what stands out to you amongst a lot of the noise that comes your way? And two, how do you feel, an effective approach is to stand out from your own perspective for your brand, for your organization?
Yeah, I agree. There's so much stuff out there. We're inundated with information. So, to a certain degree, do we really need more information? As a topic in and of itself. But I think the first thing is, you asked what stands out to me. Well, it's really things I'm interested in, and things that perhaps, whether it's business or personal, things that are going to help me, be better, be happier, be more effective. So I think that's kind of part one, is it's well targeted. And then it's actually useful, well written, authentic information. So I can sniff out manipulation in a heartbeat. And if someone's trying to be too cutesy or salesy or use some type of formula, that typically won't work with me, just because I'm in this game, so I can sniff it out. That doesn't mean it might not work with others, but it's just got to be kind of well written. I like a human style. I like to feel like I'm interacting with human content, not AI content, even though it's not to say that you can't use AI to get to human content. And there's a good interface. It's visually pleasing to me. It's easy to interact with. And that just by interacting with it, it's not going to get me stalked. So, one of my pet peeves recently is, I love Instagram. I love perusing Instagram, but lately I'm not enjoying it because if I, stay too long on something, I am now like just inundated with advertisements, and I'm spending more time, clicking out of those. So I'm just starting to have a less enjoyable experience, because it's like, shit, I can't even consume some content that I enjoy now without being bombarded with, every advertiser. So I think that's a mistake these platforms are making. I certainly hope our advertising isn't doing that. But I think that, to maybe recap, hi, Leo. I think for brands to stand out, it's one, know who your audience is. If you're trying to market to everyone, you're marketing to no one. Make sure that what you're sharing is from their perspective, not yours. Like, what's in it for them? I mean, it's kind of an age old adage. Is that the right terminology? But it's what's in it for them. And then it's got to be, kind of well written and good user experience. I think those are some of the foundational elements.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I'm reading The Founder Brand right now by Dave Gerhardt, and there's a couple. I mean, the book's great, but highly recommend it. But one piece in particular that he talks a lot about, now, to reframe, to make sure, he talks specifically about how to advocate a founder's voice. So he's really not talking about brand posting, brand our blogging brand, anything. It's really about the only brand he's talking about is the founder. So just to be clear, but he does mention that consistency really does pay off. He also talks a lot about how, look, if you're trying to get the word out there about your organization, the bar is really low right now to hear from the founder, because most founders don't have the time, right? So what's out there in the world, there's a couple of few really successful ones I'm sure you can think of, but that's there aren't many, and the formula really is just at least try to do it every day, you know and do it and just talk about your day. I forgot he actually referenced a founder that he follows that just kind of like does it every day, talks about what he did. And there was one in particular that the founder, she was talking about she was actually trying to figure out how to start her company, and that became her entire history of social
Yeah.
posting, which was just the struggles. And it was relatable because other founders latched on too, because they were having the same struggles. And as she was progressing and figuring out, oh wow, this worked, etc., that really started to build up and following. And it goes towards the value of education, which I know, Wendy, you're a huge proponent of, is by educating. And Dave Gerhardt's mentioned that he said, there's a fine line between education and entertainment. And he's like, the sweet spot is being a little bit of both, right?
Yeah.
Like an entertaining educator, right? Which, that's definitely something I strive for myself and enjoy, and wanted to get your thoughts on that perspective.
I think consistency is huge. I think that is where most companies, whether it's the founder or the company brand, fall short, because a lot of times it's let's try this and see if it works, or it's a good idea. There's a lot of momentum behind a good idea, but then I know as a founder and someone who runs a company, it's good ideas are a dime a dozen, right? It's everyone has them all of the time. It's execution, consistency, which is mundane. It's doing kind of the same things, blocking and tackling, kind of the going to the gym, the eating right, day in, day out, that gets you the results. And I think that attention spans, whether it's the creator of the content or the consumer, sometimes, we're always looking for that new shiny object. So I definitely think that the consistency is huge. And I think that what you're speaking to about, that the founder who kind of shared her struggles with growing a business, again, I think the more personal that you can make it, the more relatable, the more it's going to connect with your target audience. So again, whether it's the founder that's the voice of the brand or someone else in the company, I think the principles still apply. It's what is my target audience dealing with, and how can maybe some of my experiences help move them along. And I kind of have 4 pillars I always think about when it comes to content: educational, informative, entertaining, and inspirational. And so whether or not a piece of content can touch on all 4 of those, or at least 1 or 2, I think those are the buckets that I look at as really, the kind of the themes that I think about, that not only do I find valuable, but I think, as a brand, as a founder, is the kind of content I want us to be creating.
I love that. And I think, and the proof is in the pudding, it's so evident when organizations, whether organizations that we are working with or organizations that we're familiar with, when it sticks, when it resonates, it's because it was meaningful,
Yeah.
And so I love your 4 pillars. I think that's just spot on. And I think that's a really nice framework to use and challenge yourself when creating content, whether it's on a social channel, an email, a text message, or a blog post or any type of content that's going out there, a flyer. Gosh, I'm talking with someone that they're doing an event planning, because that's a thing again. And and I was talking to them and said, well, what's your goal? What are you trying to, who do you want to come to your booth? And what is your follow-up plan if they're kind enough to give you their information? What's the game here plan here? Your company just invested probably $10,000 for you to be there minimum. What's the strategy? What are you trying to get out of this? If for those few people that give you your information, why would they want to do that in the first place? And it's not for the stupid Kindle that you're giving away, and it's not for the swag. There's got to be there's got to be some sort of transaction that occurs in here between the two of you that makes it a meaningful experience. And that's where those 4 pillars come in.
Yeah. And I think going back to your consistency, I think that in and of itself is a winning strategy. There are so many people that are trying to find out, find the hacks, what's the newest thing, what tools can I use to find the newest thing. I just got off a webinar about how to do cold emailing effectively, and it's all about tricks and hacks, and I understand those things have their place, and I'm certainly interested in them, but while everyone's trying to figure out the secret, the hack, it's like, if you're doing the things consistently, the blocking and tackling consistently, I think you're going to win. And not to oversimplify it, but it is kind of like the losing weight kind of analogy. We all know what, for the most part, what we need to do to get healthy, and all of the time we spend trying to find the hack and not doing those things that we know just prolong the experience. So while everyone else is looking for the tricks and tips, I want to just block and tackle every week and do the basics correctly and consistently. And sure, as those other things pop up, try them, test them, but not in place of doing the basics, because the basics work. That's why they're the basics.
Sure are. Perfect. This has been another amazing conversation with you, Wendy. And I love getting feedback from our customers and our viewers about how they enjoy the different topics that we're tackling, and blocking. And
don't block. Don't block
blocking,
us.
no blocking. But yeah, thank you again for a wonderful conversation, and I look forward to the next.
Yes, me too. Thank you.